Episode number 228 with Mike Pearson. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
This is Mike Snyderman.
How the hell are you, Mikey?
I'm fine. Was I unconvincing there? I just woke up like 10 minutes ago. So this is old school for me. Waking up real late.
Right on.
I didn't play, play a little poker online. Didn't even stay up, super late, but
yeah, okay.
Somehow I guess I must have needed the sleep. I hope that doesn't mean I'm sick. Although right now I'm a little congested, Steve.
I'm slightly concerned myself as well. I woke up this morning. We slept all night at work last night, which hasn't happened in months. So it was amazing, but I still woke up and I'm like, I feel a little, like you said, congested. I don't know if it's in my head or, there's all these new things going on at work. They're making us take our temperature twice a day and everyone's wearing masks out, and it might be psychoschematic. I'm not sure.
Right. So I had my still just camped out here, man.
Yeah.
Eating, getting fat. I mean, just emotional eating all day long.
I know, it's tough, huh?
I just got so much crap in the fridge, you know what I mean? So I said I was going to eat healthy, but hey, let's have this stuff around for my son, which of course was bullshit excuse for me to fucking have Pop-Tarts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No way I'm going, plant only, no sugar, none of this with all the fucking Pop-Tarts in the house. So,
that went out the window.
I'd like to thank the Pop-Tart people for breaking my will early and now just, a license to do what the fuck I want.
Well, we got Mike Pearson this week, returning guest. The way I think of him is he's just like a savant with anything with patterns and numbers. I mean, the guy is just a wizard at poker. You've seen him play chess just like I have. It's just a real smart guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to play chess, but I assume the fact that he's playing other smart people where he only got 3 minutes and they got 20 or whoever, the time advantage thing where they try to level it out.
Yes. And he'll play 2 games at the same time against 2 different people. It's impressive.
These smart people are weird, Steve.
Yeah. I feel like this guy's probably forgotten more about poker than you and I have ever known. That I'm excited.
There are some people who I thought, it's kind of unfortunate that poker is so kind of fun and attractive because it's taken some people who could be useful out of the world, if you know what I mean. Like people who dropped out of medical school and gone to become a professional poker player.
Yeah.
But, we still have
a lot more good. You missed
like
his calling at NASA.
If you were to quit, Steve, millions of lives would be at stake. I'm sorry, Steve. The non-essential people are still. We have just a little bit of hostility towards the essential people that are out there dancing and prancing and doing whatever the hell they want.
Oh, that's awesome. He recently got a score at Lake Tahoe. He picked up the main on the circuit there. That's pretty cool.
He did
Yeah,
again.
130 something K.
Okay, I've yet to do my research here. I got to look that up. He won the this was just recently. He had 100.
Yeah, like in November. I think I was gonna go up, and I don't remember why I didn't. I don't remember. But I never made it up to Tahoe last year. And look, Mr. Pearson won the main.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, killed it. Yeah.
So how's your family doing? Brother, everybody during all this nonsense?
Yeah, I was supposed to go out and see him last week. That, of course, didn't happen with the whole COVID thing. My brother's, him and his wife just got furloughed. So they're kind of on a forced vacation, but they're pretty set up financially. So they're looking at it. He's basically, she's playing Farmville and he's playing, what the hell is it called? Civilization, that computer game. I don't know if you
Okay.
play. Yeah, and so they're doing good. They're just locked up on their video games.
That's actually, believe it or not, Steve, that's being more productive than I am. I mean, there's times I could say I'm watching movies with playing video games, but I'm not actually watching them. There's just sound and images bouncing around while I'm just, the mental activity is not even doing anything either. I'm just trying to, I don't even know how to describe it, Steve.
Oh, that's awesome.
But when some people are on like a real life break, I've got that now, down pretty good.
Yeah, I've noticed I've kind of been a slug too, especially because in California here, it's just been raining every day. And you know how they give you those, your weekly update, your weekly screen time on your phone? The other day I saw that and it was like 3 hours and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life?
Well, I average probably I think mine was ridiculous. It was like 10 hours a day. I was playing a lot of poker on my phone and
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what,
Yeah.
Sometimes at the casino, of course, I'm listening to music for a few hours. Some guys do it the whole time. I usually don't.
Okay. All right. So
here's an interesting question, Steve, quickly.
Yeah.
I was reading that 60% of people who are in quarantine right now are doing something in the realm you would describe as self-improvement.
Interesting.
Now, so if you were just in total lockdown, what would that look like to you here? Would you probably just be studying the financial markets and thinking of ways to make money, I'm guessing? Or is there any other little learn a foreign language? I don't know. You've done a little of that as well, Steve. I don't know. Was there anything on the list for you?
For me, I thought I was going to be in quarantine for a little bit because one of the guys I work with came down with textbook flu-like symptoms, difficulty breathing. I mean, all the signs. And so I was technically in quarantine for 3 days and until his results came back. And when they came back negative, then I had to go back to work. So,
right.
Yeah, for me, that's pretty much exactly what it looked like. I was just playing cards online and I was studying the market. It started to make a turn back up. I've invested about half to maybe 3/5 of my roll that I've been planning on buying when the market crashes like this. So I was doing that. I bought some stocks, just dumping more into the S&P 500. Times like this in the market only happen probably, if you're lucky, 8 times in your lifetime. And I've already seen 3 come and go and didn't even know that they happened. And this is my 4th right now. So I'm trying to capitalize on this opportunity. Right. I think I got some good ones. I'm very excited. All the ones that I bought in the last 2 weeks, I've got about 12 of them and 10 of them are up significantly. So I'm excited.
But it's funny because I want to talk some politics with Mike, who, as you know, is pretty radical socialist.
Yes.
Yes. So if you use the word capitalize on this crisis, oh my God, he would be. Yeah, I could really use this interview just to just send him just as a howling dog in your way, Steve. I think I don't have that mentality.
I just see dollar signs at times like this. Everything's on sale.
Right.
Great. It's great.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I know I was talking to Jason Froelich, and he wants to use this. He's got some money saved to buy a house one day, and this would obviously probably, be the time for that. Yeah. I don't know when real estate will hit the rock bottom or if it would. I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Right on. Well, let's bring in Mike.
Sure.
Okay, we'll take a quick break and Mike Pearson.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles and wrap them.
Mike Pearson, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You've been a busy little bee lately.
Sorry. It might be because I'm high, Steve, but just thinking of describing this man as a busy little bee.
Your main event I'm talking about in Tahoe.
Oh, yeah, I won it.
Yes, congratulations.
That's
awesome.
Thanks. I don't know if I deserve it, but thanks.
Well, you look damn good in the picture there.
Okay.
Of your,
I didn't look at the photo. Is he smiling?
He was actually.
This
yeah.
guy's not in these dark times right now. If he won it yesterday, I don't think he'd be smiling as much.
I try to avoid being photographed in general, but there comes a point where in the tournament where you can't.
Right, there it is.
Yeah. You win the damn thing, you're getting your photo.
I hope you're not offended, Mike. I told Steve we're talking about things going on in the world, and when everything's going to shit, I said, well, let's change the temperature of the show here, and you were the first person I thought of, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm actually flattered that when everything's going to shit, that I'm the guy you want to talk to about it. Welcome to my world.
Mean, Steve's not a pandemic kind of guy here. Everything's roses. He's not worried. Technology and capitalism will save us.
I have never seen Steve not smiling.
Right.
Like even when he was talking about like serious problems he was having in his life, it was just like, yeah. So I could see what you're saying. He's it's a good quality to have.
Right.
Just turn that frown upside down.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, I want to get right in. So what are you doing right now, Mike? Are you in Nevada? Or are you in San Fran right now?
I'm in San Francisco. My apartment. What am I doing right now? I don't know, wearing a sweater, drinking tea.
Right.
Talking to you guys.
I guess I meant, are you pretty much
nursing a hangover?
Or nursing a hangover. Okay.
Good deal. You're in good company. Good company.
San Fran was one of the first places to put in some strict quarantine orders in this country, right? Are you kind of happy with how the people of your local government handle it, at least better than the national government?
Yes and no. San Francisco and New York had their first confirmed case on the same day, and you can look at how differently it's spread since then. Now, New York has the obvious disadvantage of being so dense. The densest major city in the country, but San Francisco is actually the second densest major city in the country.
Okay.
So the difference is pretty dramatic, and it's hard to say because like by the time there's one confirmed case, how many actual cases are there? We don't know.
Yeah.
So I am not a big fan of our mayor for a number of reasons, but I do appreciate that she took it seriously and took strong measures early, even if I don't agree with exactly which measures. Because the shelter in place, there's been different phrasings of it as time has gone on, right? It was at times it's been considered kind of an advisory, and then they were calling it a lockdown, and then they're saying a shelter in place order. But I haven't personally seen like enforcement of this, but I have heard stories of I've heard really draconian stories as like, two friends are walking down the street and cops might give them a ticket for not standing 6 feet apart from each other.
Right.
Which is like, that to me is pretty ridiculous. Like I do want people to, use good social distancing practices, but at some point I think, any attempt is way better than no attempt, and it doesn't have to be 100% strict. I guess I would say like unless you're experiencing symptoms, I would think, but
I kind of look at it, this is also could be like a dry run for the next virus crisis. Might be something that can strike down children and people of young people, healthy people.
There's something to that, and I'm worried about like the authoritarian precedent set, which is why like I'm a big fan of advisories, and I'm not a big fan of I'm not a big fan of police enforcement. It could be. I mean, I'm also worried that it's kind of setting the stage for just further concentration of wealth and power in fewer and fewer hands. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the shock doctrine. I probably talk about it way more than I should.
I think we talked about it last time.
I thought we might have.
And you actually bought me or I bought the book, but you encouraged me to do so. So yeah.
Yeah. And the premise being that basically disasters are typically used, take the example of 9/11, take the example of Hurricane Katrina, or wars around the world, or other epidemics. They're used to basically, like I said, just to concentrate wealth and power in fewer and fewer hands. For instance, when people are desperate, they'll sell whatever assets they have to get by, right? So speculators can, pick everything up and just start owning everything. It's a big wealth grab. So I'm worried about this being used in that way, and there's definitely a little bit of that going on.
I don't know. Is it kind of? I would think this might be a crisis too, where it could kind of swing in the other way. I have Mike here is kind of a socialist. I don't think you'd run it. I have another friend. I don't know if he's a socialist, but he just kind of hates blames most problems that happen, of course, on rich people. And he says he wants this to get as bad as it can be without kind of collapse, like economically, that would lead. That's the only thing that'll lead to real change in this country, like 30% unemployment, where people look real critically at the system.
So that's a position often called accelerationism, or the things have to get as bad as possible. The contradictions of our society have to be heightened to reveal the unsustainability of it, to create the conditions for, I guess revolution is what people are going for with that. The problem is that also kind of tends to descend into fascism and power grabbing, and a power vacuum where whoever has the most guns is just going to step up and say you have to follow my orders. It definitely leads to potential for change, but that change is not necessarily good. And it's also such an uncertain if step one is people suffering as much as possible, and step two is something good comes out of it, step two better be pretty damn certain for you to actually want that to happen.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he was talking about ratcheting up the death levels. It was more just a protracted sense of just incompetence from and the inability of the rich to provide for everyone, kind of questioning the present corporatist view, I guess. What was I going to say? So yeah, one of the reasons I wanted Mike here is because I'm following on his kind of social media here, what he does have on there about all this crisis, and it's pretty interesting. But sorry, I cut you off there.
No, well, I almost feel like I might be talking too much. If you have more questions or anything, but I had a couple points there. One is when you said there was the potential for I don't know how to describe it, but you said, so when
there's going to be people are looking, when this ends, people are going to be thinking about looking at things critically. Maybe they didn't before. Some of it might be, reactionary. Why the hell now why can't we close our borders? Why are we even doing business with China? And some of it might be, I guess, more progressive socialist. It's like, Jesus, this whole capitalist system is fucked. People who are mildly leftists are now going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility. And when I was talking about the shock doctrine and the concentration of power and wealth, that's basically what the ruling class does. Now, what the people in general do is, can be a number of things. And there can definitely be, building of solidarity or changing of outlooks or whatever. But the question is whether they actually achieve the amount of power necessary to take on the wealth grabs that are going on, right? Like if you achieve a sort of if you achieve a sort of like general perspective shift, but suddenly suddenly 10 people own your entire city,
right,
that perspective shift, that solidarity has to become pretty strong to overcome those factors. So
I think I've read one comment that just like there's no atheists in foxholes and there's no capitalists in pandemics.
Well,
I guess
there are
only
capitalists.
A capitalist would say that. Yeah, that was a lie, I guess you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Has it?
Maybe,
I was thinking about this here. I like this idea to immediately like send people stimulus checks and all this. This is just the end result of this is just the corporation's going to be putting us all in greater debt. We're going to have to be working harder for less. Is that?
I mean, I think it's just not enough money is the
Right.
problem.
But it is, I don't know if it's an advance in economic theory. I was talking to my one buddy who's, loves the economic shit, but he's just, the Great Depression, the theory was you just can't keep printing money. It's irresponsible. Where here it's like, okay, the national debt doesn't matter. We need to flood the market with as much capital as possible. Is that?
That was going to be my question. Like, what do you think of the bailout? Like, is this?
I think
anything that.
I think the bailout.
They're just printing money, essentially, right?
Yeah. Well, if you're familiar with modern monetary theory, that's sort of how money comes into existence. It tends to just be spent into existence. Right.
Okay.
The Fed just issues money for a specific thing, right? And then there's more money in the in the system. Yeah. I think a bailout of this in this time is like extremely necessary. It's just that it doesn't go far enough in this case. Well, $1,200 per person is not enough. That's less than a lot of people's rent. That's less than most people's rent in San Francisco, right? And if your income has become zero, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
But it is probably that's probably about exactly the paycheck for all the people who are fucked over in the retail world. You know what I mean? So it's not.
Depends where you live. In San Francisco, minimum wage is $15 an hour. So
right,
if you're working 160 hours a week, 160 hours a month, then that 15 is, $2,400 a month. I guess taxes taken out and whatnot. But well, my main problem is so much of the bailout. Like, first the loans to the banks to prop up the stock market or buying the treasury notes, and then all the packages like bailing out the airline industry, the cruise ship industry, which,
right,
we can live without cruise ships as a society. We don't need them.
Yeah.
That can't be the priority right now. And I don't even remember. I think the numbers now come to something like $4.2 trillion that maybe it's 3.7 trillion, 3 to 4 trillion that the government has just found available to for different bailouts and stimuli in this situation. And that could have just been give every man, woman, and child in America $6,000, right? Is that the absolute best solution? I don't know. But or actually it probably could have been more now. Maybe only give it to the adults, and maybe it's, 10,000 per person, or even.
Well, here, I guess this was my point. Not that this will be. Of course, we talked a little bit about it. I was a big fan of Andrew Yang. I was one of the first people on board and sent him money. If universal basic income came out of this, because this guy, to me, on that makes more sense than ever. He was already arguing all these shopping malls and all these people are fucked anyways, and now we're just seeing, that's my thing. There's a lot of people now who are using Amazon who've never used it before. that's going to accelerate all those jobs going. But I mean, if that leads to that discussion, I mean, when you say like the rich are going to try to get more, which is always true, but here, if we put the 100 richest guys together, and let's just say their only goal was to, I think they would be more like, how do we hold on to our money?
Yeah, well,
rather than profit from this. You know what I mean? How do we keep everybody who's getting fucked, or the 25%, from just demanding we take everything? You know what I mean?
Sure, but I mean, hoarding on, like, I misspoke with the word hoarding, but that's kind of gets the point. Like, expecting to hold on to what you have while everyone else loses everything is just as greedy an act. Like, especially holding on to extreme surplus,
Right.
And things are just fucking offensive. Like Jeff Bezos advocating for people to donate to a fund for Amazon and Whole Foods workers. It's like, you have the money. Just put the money up yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a lot of the whole celebrity charity thing, is like, instead of raising the money, like, if you believe in this, you should just give the money. Right. Especially in cases like Jeff Bezos is like, he shouldn't have that much money in the first place.
Yeah. It's interesting. You put, I saw a little message you sent out about hoarding. I mean, it's funny. Right after it, I wish there were guys like you at Costco, pushing it, grabbing the toilet paper out of the shopping carts that people have 300 rolls.
Yeah. Well, I did make a Costco trip, if that helps. But
did you give the business to anybody?
No, I kept to myself.
Just got your shit and got out of there
as much as possible, and I got in and out as fast as possible.
Well, you're never one to hold back his opinion, so I was hoping there would at least be
some kind of confrontation while he's standing in line. Yeah,
somebody who caught the wrath.
I hold back my opinion surprisingly often, actually.
Well, comparatively, yes, to the other people, Now, here's a question I want to ask you. Of course, question for every Bernie supporter.
I don't think. Sorry, I don't think I really even addressed what you were talking about basic income there.
Okay, sorry.
You want to?
Yeah, no, I want to get in onto this political stuff.
All right, yeah, all of it.
This is all chalk. This is all the fingers across the chalkboard for Steve. But this is
is it?
Yeah, well, fuck him. I don't. We can ignore his hearing about his trips to Thailand.
But he's laughing anyway. I mean, he's so God. Even while he's being tortured, he's happy about it.
I don't remember. Were you there? I don't think you were. I remember the morning that Steve found out his ex, not to bring it, but Steve, you'll even find this amusing. His ex-wife had robbed like $24,000 from him, just emptied their account and put it to her own bank, and pretty much announced the divorce. And Steve was shattered. So anyways, it was, of course, you were out of it in like 8 minutes. Okay, time to move on.
But that ship has sailed. What's next?
It was briefly. You were totally human.
I mean, I remember you going through the divorce while during that one summer during the WSOP.
When we were at the house, yeah.
I don't remember all the details of when you found out what, but that's actually what I was referring to, that you were surprisingly good natured. I mean, I didn't know if I should bring up the situation on air, but
so for the bourgeois like me with clean streets, but recognize like the crisis we're heading to isn't, universal basic income seems to me solution is too strong a word, but I think it would be a remarkable good piece of public policy.
Yeah. And I thought Andrew Yang, at least, like, I disagreed with him on things, but I thought he at least brought something to the table, and basic income is, a big one. I disagreed with his ways of doing it, but I thought the concept of basic income is pretty much necessary at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone should have the basic needs for survival,
right?
Whether or not they do any work, whether or not they contribute anything, like, just
Well, just the fight, like a lot of the Yank supporters were, you know, white guys with ties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of had this.
You know, I think it's like just the fact it's coming from like a guy who's I mean, he's not, of course, saying the whole capitalist system is just unsustainable. He's thinking this is a response to
No, I mean, he's
technology.
Yeah. And that kind of nerdy wonk tech bro image might have been, well, I found it a little off-putting. I'm not sure I'm not the only one.
I'm sure I was. Yeah, I imagine if you were at a Pete Buttigieg fundraiser, yeah, you would be out of place there a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
same sort of the technocrats.
I
talking
would
about
only be there for the purpose of disrupting it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
That's great. When I'm trying to remember the last time we were together, Mike. I think it was for last year's WSOP.
Sounds right.
Likely.
Yeah, and you were talking about the desert place that I can't remember if you said you had just bought it or if you were about to buy it, but you have it now.
That would have been 2 years ago.
Oh, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus, time flies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I bought it. I could show you a picture of what's out there. I spent like 12 days out there, or
okay.
I guess it was like a 2-week trip.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was kind of right after the quote lockdown had been declared here.
Yeah.
And I figured it's like, okay, I've been keeping to myself. If I want to get out, now's the time to do it. I had been meaning to make a trip out there for a while, but had, certain difficulties, just things I was trying to do were kind of put on hold. And a friend, and this is also part of the logic, is like, I'm like, okay, my friends are probably out of work right now. So I had a friend that wanted to come with me. And yeah, it felt like a very safe place to be, as long as I wasn't the asshole bringing the virus out there, which was my main concern. I just, but how
much did you just get land? I can't remember. Was there a house on it or
just empty land? Nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
So you're out there camping or what?
Yeah, we got some trailers. We have a shipping container for supplies of. It's, livable.
It's the perfect environment to withstand COVID.
Yeah, it's far away from any people, and it's kind of rough living. It was like dirty and dusty and windy and cold, but there's plenty of food. There's shelter.
Now this, Steve, you might want to cover your ears. This was not an investment property. I do not believe. I believe you had some kind of civic-minded ambitions for this. Is that fair to say? And I don't know if you want to talk about what your plans for the land are. Or is that
altruistic?
Is that too complicated to discuss?
Well, it kind of is too complicated. I'm trying to find a way to like simplify without being wrong. So I kind of view it as a partnership with a friend of mine who does want to run a business out of it.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted just to create. I'm kind of more interested in creating something of a commune and the experiment,
like a little utopia,
a little oasis in the desert.
Yeah.
And
you got quite a bit of land, right? I mean, it's acres, isn't it?
44.
Yeah.
Steve, I think oasis in the desert is code word for him and his buddies for like stockpiling weapons. So we probably don't want to get into it any deeper than this, I guess.
I don't want to say stockpiling. But, so I kind of, there, and it's kind of an experiment for me of, creating something out of nothing, like an oasis in the desert. Like if I can find a way to make this sustainable, then it would make, it could serve as a model for other, harsh climates.
That's pretty cool.
Going on. And I was also doing some research on the concept of greening the desert and restoring landscapes and grasslands.
I was just going to ask that if that's
essentially terraforming, but in a smaller scale.
Yeah, and it's funny. I read The Martian not too long before getting this property, and that might have might have kind of increased my
planted the seed.
Yeah, it might have increased my ambition a little bit. It's like, oh well, if this guy can do it on Mars, then I can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, with bags of poop, that I could do it in the desert.
Right. It's like that's not exactly how it works. This guy was a genius with billions of dollars of NASA equipment and also fictional. But
yeah. And also the fact that it didn't happen.
Right. But some progress is being made, and definitely the rate of progress is sometimes
well that could be
frustrating.
Beachside property in 20 years there, Mike. And all you got to do is just go out and walk in the ocean, land aplenty.
Yeah, not happening there.
What's your plan for water? Is it drillable? I mean, can you get a well? Do you got to go down 1,000 feet? Like what?
It is theoretical. It is possible, but there's kind of a lot of unknowns as to how far you have to dig, and whether you're trying to get the seasonal water table or the permanent water table. There's a lot of uncertainty, and it's expensive. So
yeah,
and it's more expensive the deeper you have to dig, which you don't know how deep you have to dig.
Have you had a water witcher out there?
I haven't.
I had an interesting experience with one of those guys. I was a kid, and my folks, they got a place up in Idaho, and my dad basically built it from scratch. He got 5 acres, and one of the first steps was to get power and water. And we went out with a witcher out there. He had a willow stick from a willow tree. It's shaped into kind of like a Y, and you use both hands, and you hold the two part of the Y, so the one end sticks out straight in front of you. And he would walk around, and the willow stick, I'll be damned, I saw it with my own eyes, would point down. And then he would kind of step off to the side of where it had pointed down and step back and forth over that same area, and the willow stick would go down each time. When it stopped going down, he added up how many times the willow stick went down and multiplied by whatever number, 7 or something. And that's how many feet down water was. Wow. And what was interesting about it is I think it's a skill that someone either is born with or not, because like I tried it in the exact same spots, didn't work. My dad tried it in the exact same spots, didn't work. And then he held my hand, put one of his hands on the willow stick and my hand on the other, and the fucking thing worked. And I've seen other people do the same thing with welding rods. They just get 2 welding rods and they hold them straight out. And when the things cross in the middle, I don't know if there's some kind of magnetic field or something that happens with water deep underground, but that also works as well. And he said that we were going to hit water at, I believe it was 283 feet and then 420. And when we hit 283 feet, there was a little bit of water. It was a few gallons a minute, but it was nothing to sustain a family. And then when we got down to 420 feet, it was about 15 gallons a minute. It was like, and he did all that with a piece of wood.
Were your parents, were you parents around, Steve, when you're playing with some man's willow stick? He's holding your hand. I'm confused here. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I had heard about the idea of witching a well, but I didn't understand the process. That's pretty interesting.
I don't understand it, but I've seen it work, and that guy was spot on. It was amazing. And there might be something to it though, because when we hit 283 feet and just got a little bit of water, there was a bunch of this like green mineral that kept coming up. And then when he kept drilling down, because that wasn't enough, when we hit it at 420, that green mineral came up again and there was water. So maybe there's something between the welding rods and the willow stick about hitting that green mineral. I don't know what it is, feldspar, who knows?
All of them? I don't know.
And it could be.
I don't think feldspar really tends to be green.
Is it more black, or we're getting in the weeds here?
Yeah,
but
I don't even know.
It would be interesting to take a water witcher on your place, especially since you got so much land, and see what he finds.
Just promise me, Steve, if you go into the life of porn, your name, feldspar willow stick. We have it right there. Sorry, I don't know why I have to make jokes. You guys are having a serious conversation here. I'll step aside. No, when you say sustainability, what does that mean? Like, you're not going to have like a lush garden or anything out there, right? Or
well, so I guess it's kind of the, I think of it as like permaculture prepping. And lush garden, no, not really. But restoring grasslands, and actually, we haven't talked about climate change at all. There was an opportunity to segue to it earlier, but restoring grasslands with rotational grazing by animals is one of the biggest climate solutions that exists. And
interesting.
I would have been very curious to see what this land looked like 150 years ago. Before the predators were removed, so the megafauna.
With the buffalo?
I don't know if it ever had buffalo. It could have. I don't know.
Okay.
But there definitely, there's antelope out there, so there definitely would have been either like mountain lions or wolves. Probably wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, the American settlers have pretty thoroughly killed the wolves everywhere.
This is the early history, I think, of Yosemite and all sort of the western parks, where they immediately they tried to kill all the predators right away. Right. They went and tried to kill all the wolves, and because the people who'd be visiting wanted to see beautiful animals.
Yeah,
they didn't want to see the state of nature at play, kind of thing.
Yeah, and
don't want to worry about their children getting eaten.
And not just like for modern day tourists, like say in the 1800s or early 1900s, like wolves were a threat. Like it wasn't just, like they might go after your kids, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's sort of understandable, but it's very twisted relationship with nature there, because the wolves were serving an important purpose of keeping the grazing and browsing populations in check. So then when they're gone, the deer are extremely invasive a lot of places, or well, maybe invasive isn't even the right word, but they no longer have the predators, right?
They can turn into a pest. I've seen it up at my folks' house. They did open season on deer a few years ago. You didn't even need a tag. It was amazing.
Because they'll eat.
They just decimated all the farm fields. Yeah, all the farm fields, all the alfalfa that goes to cattle. It was just getting demolished by deer.
Yeah,
they were everywhere. So I can definitely.
Well, and it's funny. Hunters now play the role that wolves used to play. Ecologically, and it's not perfect, but
you're right. I never thought of that. Yeah, they do.
So, Mike, quickly, just back to politics one time here. I know you're not happy at all, disgusted with the Democratic nominee here.
Yep.
But let us say you are a resident of the state of Pennsylvania, and on election day, it was absolutely tied, 2 million votes to 2 million votes, and whoever won Pennsylvania won. And they said, "Oops, we forgot this one guy's ballot needs to be counted." Do you rip it up and say, "Fuck it, take it to the House"?
Damn, you're creating a very specific hypothetical. Like
well, I thought it was
usually the hypothetical is just like, what if you live in a swing state? Now you're saying, what if my one vote actually determines which shit sandwich we eat?
For all the Bernie people who say I'm never voting for Biden, I'm not participating. Like, it's easy if I'm just saying you can say that without any fear of.
But yeah,
you can say that with any fear of your affecting the election in any way.
I think there's
even if it's you and 20,000 of your friends.
I think there's also sort of there's a value to following through on that, like in swing states, in the sense that Democratic Party has just taken the left's vote for granted, right? Constantly compromising with the right, but not willing to, like, what is it? I mean, Joe Biden's a piece of shit. Like, honestly, like, I can't even think of, it's hard for me to even think of ways that he's better than Trump. Like, he doesn't encourage hate crimes, and that's pretty big. But in terms of actual policies, in terms of what he actually wants to do with the power of the office, like, I don't see that much of a difference. And I think there is a sort of a value in following through, like in a swing state. So the Democratic Party can't just take the left's votes for granted in the future.
Right.
I mean, I guess in that specific hypothetical, I hate it. I hate it.
I'm very proud of myself for this question, as you can tell.
Yeah, because in general, it's like if you offer me two different food items that are both going to make me sick, I might just choose to not eat. Right? But
that's a good analogy.
Scenario.
Yeah, but yeah, and I have such a problem with the framing of that as the binary. Like that is the decision. That like
well, there was probably an out. There's probably like a Green Party candidate where you can say, you know, I'm voting for the best candidate. It's not that I'm not voting or something. I don't know, but
who was your guy, Bernie?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I will say, I'll say that I am compromising by supporting Bernie. Like I don't agree with him on everything. I don't think he goes far enough on a lot of things. I don't really think that positive change comes from the office of the president. But seeing how there is going to be a president, you know, having someone who's, you know, a genuinely decent person, genuinely cares about people, and is trying to make positive change and has a record of doing it for decades. So, you know, he's not full of shit like every other politician. You know, even people that don't like him, believe that he means what he says. You know,
right?
Yeah,
most politicians don't have that. Yeah,
honest.
He's high character on the honesty thing for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing that I post about, like, regardless of circumstances, I just Biden, his mind is already so mushy. To watch that for 4 years, like I literally will never watch the news just because it'll be cringy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it will be. It'll be hard to watch. I mean, it's already.
Okay.
He's already been hard to watch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the was like 80% of you. I mean, you got to be kind of excited with how, not that it's like unanimous, but it's clearly the you millennials are definitely going to be swinging the political center to the left pretty aggressively. I think, you know, 10, 20 years ago, the AOC types are going to be, you know, this isn't the fringes, this is the future, right?
Yeah, but there's not going to be much of a planet left by then. And I am, how much should I self-censor here?
No, this is good. I feel exactly the same way in that the path we're on is completely unsustainable.
Right.
And
but
how do you change 7 billion people? You know, how do you?
You don't change 7 billion.
I go down to South America and they don't even have a trash system in some countries. You know, it's like.
But they're not the problem. They're not the problem because there's such a lower footprint they have. You know. You don't change
in comparison to the world. They're even what they're doing is
well, the carbon fruit, you know, because they're not knocking all their trees down for grazing land or, you know, have a
right. And even
ripping everything out of the earth.
Yeah.
A lot of these, you know, more primitive.
You don't change 7 billion people. You change the 100 companies that are responsible for 70% of fossil fuel emissions or for carbon emissions.
Okay.
If the U.S. military was its own country, it would be something like the 50th biggest polluter in the world. You know, more than Portugal, for instance, right? Like more than the military itself. It's basically impossible to consume resources at a sustainable rate as an American if you take a 1/330 millionth share of the military's the consumption of resources and generation of waste.
Okay, can you say that, but say it a different way? So basically you're saying that as a citizen, there are 330 million people in America. Mm-hmm. Being one of those, you use less than that equivalent of the military?
So I was playing, and this is an environmental studies class, there's a little simulator, like how it measured in like how many planets you would need to support your lifestyle. and you put in how much you eat of what, and how much you drive, and what you live in, and what kind of how much electricity you use. You give it all those inputs, right? And you also put what country you live in. So if you live in the woods, eat nothing but leaves, don't use electricity, don't consume anything, but you're a US citizen, it automatically says that you need 2.7 planets to support your lifestyle sustainably.
Huh.
Just because it gives you
and we're not in the woods eating leaves. So
no. So there's also your personal choices on top of that. But that's why I say, like, changing the personal choices, one, like, it's harder to do, but also it's not enough unless you actually change the power structures and the habits of the wealthy and powerful, basically.
What do you think is the most sustainable force or source of power? Nuclear or like?
I mean, like, depend on your location, but solar's damn good.
Okay. Wind?
Wind is good. I am actually an advocate of use of nuclear in specific circumstances, but
okay.
I have major problems with the way nuclear has been used, and also
you've been watching The Simpsons for so many years, you're imagining Homer there pressing buttons.
But that's not that much of a fantasy. Like, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has been pretty lax, where it's a situation where, like, the smallest fuck up is completely unacceptable. So I think it has to be, the safety regulations have to be much more certain. But then there's also the issue that, like, it takes a long time to build a nuclear facility, and it's at this point just more expensive than wind, water, solar.
Okay.
Right.
Which, I kind of hate that. I hate that the financial issue is actually what shapes the decision, because, like, physics and chemistry and biology are real, right? The economy is made up, right? So the fact that one thing costs more money than another, like, sometimes that actually represents physical resources, and sometimes it doesn't. But so as much as I think that nuclear could have been a good option, I don't really think it is anymore. But I do wish that the anti-nuclear movement had been an anti-coal movement instead.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Although I guess the anti-nuclear movement had a lot to do with nuclear weapons, particularly. So that's good. But
right. I was last year. I read a couple. Sorry, guys. Last year I read a couple of books on, like, I like any book which has doomsday scenarios, and of course with the environmental thinking. I forget the name of the book I read. One of them basically said all I would need the temperature of the Earth's gone up 1 degree. And if it goes up like another 2 degrees, life as we know it will be in peril. And, like, we're headed to, like, literally within 100 years. Is that, I don't know if you want to give an overall level of pessimism, if that's like a fair way to put it.
Life as we know it. And that's actually, you asked a question earlier about if this pandemic is like a training run for future pandemics. Could be a training run for climate change. Like, we're going to see disaster on this type of scale. And I mean, the answer isn't going to be to socially distance in that case. But climate change will also bring more novel pathogens. And it'll, it'll kill the bees, but the mosquitoes will love it,
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's going to be disease dangers involved as well. And, this year we might be looking at food shortages, because a lot of farming is going to be so set back.
Right.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, and that's a problem that's just going to get worse and worse every year with climate change, because there'll just be fewer yields. And well, climate change isn't the only issue. It's also unsustainable, short-term thinking agriculture rather than approaches like permaculture.
This pandemic, is it not stretching to the whole world though? Is Africa somehow
unaffected? Or?
Africa is definitely affected. I haven't looked at it. It's weird when information changes so rapidly that it almost feels like absurd to use the numbers I saw 2 days ago.
Right.
So I can't tell you how bad it is, but it definitely has reached Africa. Like nowhere in the world is completely safe.
How did China make out in all this? Someone told me that they don't have any new cases or something. How's that? They just put them all on lockdown as soon as they found out?
Well, the information, we might have incomplete information there.
We definitely do with anything regarding China, because I don't really agree. I don't really believe in China's state media, but I also don't believe Western media talking about China, because they're always trying to paint them with a certain brush.
Yeah, I went to China a couple of years ago for like 2 weeks, and I found that instantly their government is really stringent on what they let out and the information they let out. You don't have Google and you don't have Facebook in China. Yeah. Because they don't share their information. So Google's almost like a data mining service, if you think about it. And that information that they get, they keep to themselves. That's okay to use in America. It's not okay to use in China. So they don't allow it. If you want to get on Google, you got to have a VPN to make it look like you're logging on in some other country and not China, and then you can access it.
And that's probably highly illegal.
Well,
yeah, you can't be found with that.
Well, Mike's point about the pandemic leading to doesn't have to lead to positive change. It could be like the police state. I mean, aren't the totalitarian states, let's be honest, more able to deal with a pandemic? I don't know.
Well, totalitarians
separated people really fast there.
Totalitarian's a loaded word there. One country that's been extremely successful.
Authoritarian, I should say.
Well, it's still a loaded word. How do you one country that's been extremely effective is Vietnam, and you might call their government, or you might call their response authoritarian, but I don't think it's any more authoritarian than what's been going on here. So I mean, it's a loaded word, and I wouldn't, but yeah, it is kind of a situation where it demands a highly coordinated response, which is difficult to do without.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when we just talk about the test run, like in the future, not that I want a tyrant, but if I'm following the rules and staying inside, and there's some asshole who's walking around the beach and coughing on my doorknob, I want the cops to get the fucker out of there. So maybe I'll be part of the problem in the solution, Mike. But it is I'm just pointing out that if the state is taking a more active role, that's partly it could be a practical response. I don't know.
Yeah, and it sort of makes me challenge my beliefs a little bit, because I definitely fall in the left libertarian quadrant.
Right.
But this seems to be a case where it's like I don't know what a more libertarian response would be, right? A less authoritarian response. I don't know how it could be effective.
Have you considered following my advice and getting your own podcast going there, talking about politics? Is this fun for you? I don't know.
I like it. I guess I'd probably have to buy a microphone.
Okay.
First investment.
That'd be hard to do because I can't go outside.
Yeah.
I think you live a semi-Spartan life anyways, especially with the big score in November. I'm guessing you're not like scrambling for money now, or are you grinding online a lot, just trying to make up for possible future expenses that you're not going to have?
Oh, punting online.
Yeah. Okay. Playing ACR or
yeah.
What
have those fields become like exploded in size because of the
Oh yeah, and there's way more tournaments too.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's way.
Could, I guess, swinging back to poker here, could that lead to a greater push for online poker, you think, where it could finally we'll finally have poker stars back?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Seems silly to talk about, but in the Twitterverse, this is something a lot of the poker players are saying this will be the result.
Yeah,
because,
I wasn't involved in poker when it got taken away, so it's kind of like
right. Yeah,
the only.
I'm the same way.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I played on Poker Stars in like 2004, 2005, I think, for like a couple years. But I had completely, I wasn't playing any poker at all from, let's say 2007 to like 2011, I think.
Would that be your dream relationship with poker? I'm assuming. I think a lot of us would like this. Like every 2 years, you get a nice score, and then you don't have to play your hand if you don't want to for another year.
Sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you in the stock market at all?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, geez, Steve, we averted a disaster there. Asking him for investment ideas. Thank God. Let me quickly stop by one day you were
actually,
Twitch.
I have an investment. I buy land in the desert with no life supporting structure on it.
Just nothing but sand and cactus.
Yeah, buy sand and cactus.
Oh, that's great.
There's a little moisture in the middle of that cactus, right? Isn't that what we learned?
That's true. That's true.
No, I was going to ask you about chess.
Yeah.
Was that something your love for it is reinvigorated, or is this just too much time at home? Or you were talking about I don't know if you've done it yet, twitching you playing chess.
Yeah, I've done a couple. Not like I don't have an audience, and I don't have my computer's too slow, so that's one issue in terms of doing it seriously. But yeah, I mean, I transitioned from chess to poker. I was an avid tournament player as a kid. I was good. I mean, if I quit when I was 15. If I hadn't, I would probably be a grandmaster by now, well, by 10 years ago. But
I was talking before you came on. It was impressive as hell what I saw when you were playing Dylan and I don't remember
Alex.
Dylan and Alex together, who either one could easily beat me, and you were playing 2 games at the same time.
Yeah,
against both of them timed. I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
that was impressive.
You've seen nothing yet.
That was just a dusting of what you're capable of.
No, not what I'm capable of, but what people are capable of. I mean, there's people that play multiple games while blindfolded, and they beat everyone.
Oh my God. Is someone just saying the move bishop b4 or whatever?
Yeah.
Wow.
I can play a blindfold game. I've never tried to play more than one at once.
Wow.
I mean, I'd be curious. I don't know if this would be something to go into. I wonder if these kids who are the chess prodigy, maybe this is watching Searching for Bobby Fischer. I don't know. If you're at that level, weren't you like at age 13, like dreaming about poker hands and scenarios? I mean, how much doesn't it occupy just a shitload of your mental space to be like elite?
It does. And that's like, I would dream about chess. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think actually thinking about it would kind of help me fall asleep. Would kind of like, trying to visualize something, like visualize moves on a board would kind of help me fall asleep.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I quit completely rather than just like not playing, rather than just like scaling back or whatever. It's kind of why I quit completely, just to remove that from, I didn't look at a board for, 2 or 3 years. And then I guess actually after getting back into poker, after getting into poker for the first time, playing online when I was like 17, I guess shortly after turning 18, I started playing a little chess again, and then played an actual live tournament, and my round one opponent offered me a job at a chess club, which was pretty cool.
That's flattering.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you ever, I don't know, how often are you like big in, I don't know if you're big into like Flopzilla and the solvers and tweaking your range for every specific spot? Are you kind of mentally as rigorous with poker?
I'm really not.
You don't have to be to win at poker, right?
No, well, I'm really not, and I feel like I could be better if I put the effort in, but I guess I'm just pretty mentally lazy. I'm kind of
okay.
I don't know about that. Have you ever taken an IQ test, Mike?
Yeah, it said that a random.
Okay. You know the number, right? Okay, don't say it.
No. Well, I took like a goofy online one, and it said that a random number generator would beat me.
A spoof one? Oh, okay. I was curious what it was.
I think I won't give the number. There's one night though, Alex was like drunk at my place, and I was, I was being a bitch about something, and he was just basically saying, "Do you know how high my IQ is?" And he told me, he's like, "Listen, there's nothing that I don't know," or something.
Yeah,
he's probably right.
As soon as you brought that up, I'm like, I don't really believe in IQ. I kind of think it's a bullshit metric for people to feel superior.
To feel important.
I guess what I would say is it's a way of sort of valuing certain aptitudes over others.
Okay.
And what mental traits we might value today would have been very different than 100 years ago, and probably different from 100 years from now.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
So what are your are you at all upset the World Series of Poker is not happening? I mean, you do get to go out and say hi to a few friends maybe you don't see.
Yeah, I would have. I was planning to play it.
Right.
Yeah, me too. I'm still kind of bummed about that. It's like, damn it.
Hey guys,
it'll be back next year. No, not at all.
Yeah, I just want the IQ thing though. Mike, I don't know. Is this? Are you kind of because of your egalitarian instincts here? You're trying to, even in a socialist paradise, there's going to be a division of labor. You need the big brainy guys to do some engineering, right?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You need people with different skills doing different things.
Okay. So who decides who has these skills? See, I'm trying to push.
What metric do we use to decide that?
I'm trying to show him that there will be authoritarianism from the other direction as well. But yeah, we're too abstract here to.
Yeah.
How would you describe your politics? Will you be like agrarian socialist? It's more like it's not just about taking the means of production. It's about getting rid of all that shit.
Right. I mean, I call myself an anarchist.
Okay.
Or sometimes I hesitate to use the term because I feel like there's sort of because I feel like maybe my actual life doesn't really live up to my beliefs.
Right.
But recently fond of the social ecologist way of thinking.
So are you going to be moving to the front lines here? you just posted a meme on Facebook of the one with Homer Simpson going to the bush with a Bernie sign and then coming back out with like some black anarchist garb.
Yeah, well, you already got the mask.
Right. That's true. But like the Antifa stuff, or you know what I mean? I don't, I guess you're not going to.
Yeah, we should all be anti-fascist.
Okay, right. Okay. Well, I mean, I just, I guess you don't want to actually announce on a podcast that you will soon be throwing bricks through windows. So.
No, I don't want to say that. I mean,
like that the FBI is heading out to the desert right now, Mike. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. to investigate what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, should we talk about a poker hand here?
I got one lined up. If
Mike, is there
y'all
anything
are
else
ready?
you kind of want to?
I don't know. I'm letting you steer.
Okay. This one is a online hand. We're playing 50 cents a dollar. It's a cash game. And we are on the button. It folds to us. We have a stack of 40. We have a stack of $50. Small blind has 57. Big blind has 87. And we have 7-8 of clubs. Are you guys stealing this hand, or are you just folding it, or?
This is a 6 max or a
full table?
Full table.
It folds to us on the button.
Yeah, 8-7 of clubs. Yeah, I'm opening.
Okay. Sizing at a 50 cent dollar table.
I'm honestly, I'm not that technical. Like, I don't really play online cash games, but I mean, so I honestly don't have too strong an opinion. Like, this is a cash game, not a tournament, so you know, I usually play live cash games where it's like 3x or even 4x, right?
Okay.
So probably something like 2.5 is better. 2.2, whatever. I don't have too strong an opinion about the sizing.
Okay. All right. I do 4. So I go 4x.
Okay.
Yeah. I make it 4. Small blind folds and the big blind calls. I haven't played with this guy before. He's unknown. Just recently sat at the table. I don't have any reads. Okay, so unknown calls in the big blind. We got $8.50 in the pot, and with 8-7 of clubs, the flop is the 9 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds.
I'm sorry. What's the effective stacks again, Steve?
40. Well, with $8.50 in the pot, effective stacks are 40. We'll call it 47. It's 46.80. About $47. So with 8-7 of clubs, we get 9 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, and big blind checks. Any reason not to check behind?
Oh,
yeah, because you want to win the pot.
Yeah, I feel like you almost definitely want to bet.
Oh, okay.
Well, you got all sorts of back doors, Steve. I mean, like almost half the deck will give you more outs in the turn for straight or flush.
Okay, I was of the mind that this hits his range more than it hits mine, but
well,
maybe I'm off.
Except that, so opening 4x, I feel like makes it kind of weird because it in theory makes both ranges a lot stronger, right?
Yeah.
But your range is supposed to have aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, right? You're supposed to just have overpairs where he's not really. Now, maybe the fact that you made such a large preflop raise and he called it means that he's, I don't know, maybe his jacks or tens that he would normally 3-bet, he just called. Well, yeah, I don't know if that really makes sense either. But he probably does have a quality starting hand. But that could be like queen jack suited, and it could just airball this flop. So I definitely think you want to bet something to get his auto folds.
Okay.
And I'm torn. So in tournaments, I'm usually using a 30% size and a 70% size, something like that. And I'm actually kind of
like one or the two, or do you mean 30-70?
One of the two.
Interesting.
Typically. But I guess sometimes if I feel like I'm not sure which one I want to use, sometimes I go in between. Sometimes I miscalculate, but so I'm not, so in this case, I feel like you could consider betting, 3 or 2.5, or you could bet 6. And I think both kind of have merit. But let's see. So your starting stack was 52?
Starting stack was 51.
51, yeah.
we got 47 now. The pot is 8.5.
Okay, so a little.
He's got his covered.
So SPR like 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I might.
If I do check back here, I'm probably going to be. I've got a lot of, over bets on the turn, maybe, or you got to have other ways to win here, Steve. I think, or you're just going to be leaking money if you're opening buttons and just hoping to hit flops.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe the small flop bet with the intention of a turn bomb on favorable turns.
Okay.
I was just going to say that's the Andrew Brokos, I think, from his book, actually knowing anecdotally some hands that he's played. Like that's, he really loves that bet real small, like on flops, and then just 2x like pots on turns.
Yeah.
Just so, because for that, if you're especially if you're going to be aggressive later in the street and try to put people for the test for their stacks for later in the hand, you can probably bet small on flops.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I guess the reason I hesitated and I almost wanted to go with a bigger size is like, let's say he has like, I don't know, king, queen with a backdoor, or ace, jack, or pocket sixes. Like, can you get those hands to fold with a large size? Probably not, though. You probably get them to fold by the small flop bet and then following up with a turn bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the, villain dependent here too.
Yeah.
A lot of players are just not going to thinking of backdoors. They want a pair or a big draw. So for if that kind of player, then you can just see bet small because they got so many auto folds.
Well, I guess I'm like kind of trying to think GTO because I don't know the population.
Sure.
But I think even so, you can say that like almost any population probably doesn't check raise the small bet often enough.
Right.
And so
you don't have to really worry too much about getting blown off your
hand.
And if you do, you have 8 high. Like, you're not entitled to win the pot, but you should try.
Yeah.
Okay.
You check.
All right.
You check back, Steve.
What's that?
Sounds like you check back the flop.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. I guess I was thinking this is his range more than mine. I think he should be shoving like 9s plus there with an effective stack starting the hand at only 50 big blinds.
Oh, wow. Shoving?
No. Well, if I opened a 4, small blind folds.
It is a big open, but
I mean, we got, what is it, 5.5 in the pot if he shoves 9s plus there.
I mean, he doesn't.
Well, I don't know, Steve. I don't think that you're thinking tournament play here. I think mostly.
Maybe you're right.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think this is.
And you wouldn't be thinking that if this is a tournament with stacks this deep. Like, right. I think if you want to get all in, I think the way to do it is to like raise to 13, right? Now you're putting in like 25% of the effective stack, right? If your opponent if your opponent jams, you could have some hands that you do that with where you're folding and have some hands where you're calling.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I end up checking back. I guess another part of it was we have to catch, I think, almost runner to make our hand. We either got to get 2 pair, we got to get 3 of a kind, we got to get a straight, a flush. Maybe 1 pair is good if he's got something like king queen. But yeah, I guess my thought at the time was this is his range more than mine, and
you're basically already in like, oh, let's hit runner or straight flush and really teach this guy a lesson. Joking, Steve. Kind of sounds. No, yeah, I think your thinking is just wrong here. Like other than a tournament, you're not necessarily going to be you're not going to want to be going 3 streets on the guy with this. But I think this is a good flop to
fire it.
Anyways, what was the turn card?
Okay, so 8-7 of clubs. The flop was 9 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds. Goes check. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. So the board now is 9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds. So we hit our pair of 7s. And villain into 8.5. bets 566. Don't all speak at once now.
Yeah, I feel like you got to call once, but I don't love it because I feel like Villain is probably playing more suited hands from defending the big here.
Okay.
So, Villain shouldn't really be betting very often without a diamond in his hand. But I'm a little worried that if he's playing more suited hands than offsuit hands, that it's likely to be 2 diamonds. And when I say shouldn't be betting without a diamond, he's probably also betting a 9, right? But probably not betting hands that don't have a pair or, let's say, the ace of diamonds, king of diamonds.
Okay.
And sure, there are definitely ace X hands with the ace of diamonds he could have. I don't know if do you think he's 3-betting ace queen there? Do you think he's 3-betting ace jack, ace 10? That question would determine how many of those hands exist. Do you think he's calling with ace 8 with a diamond?
Man, I don't know. This is just an unknown,
Well, and
now, looking at this hand exploitively, let's just say this was a live hand, and you check back the flop, and you're facing this bet on the turn. How would you play it versus the fish versus the absolute crusher? On the one hand, in these spots for the lead outs with the real good pros, I'm well, they got more bluffs in their range. This could be bullshit. On the other hand, it could be very, very costly to find out if they're bluffing or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I haven't really done much study in a while, and so I'm kind of making it up in a lot of spots. But I think my general procedure is going to be to call once and fold most rivers.
Okay.
But I don't like being in this spot. It's part of why I would have preferred to bet the flop.
Bet the flop. Yeah.
Because what other hands do you want to have when you call here? You want to have hands like ace X with a diamond, right? Ace of diamonds X, right?
Yeah.
You want to have hands like king queen with a diamond. You might want to have some sets. Having made flushes when you call here, sometimes, is pretty awesome. If you just every once in a while check back the nut flush draw on the flop or a flush draw.
And then just call on the turn.
Yeah. Well, because the reason I'm hesitant to call once and fold river is because I feel like, that means your opponent can just automatically bet the river and will be winning by doing that with any hand. So I'm trying to think of a way that so that I
well, what if there's a 4th diamond on the river and he checks to you, assuming you call here? Are you probably checking back or betting and turning it into a bluff? I'm just if the board pairs, I think it's hard to fold to his river bet, right? Isn't that a little?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to think of it for river decisions, which, what we're doing with our range there, depending on the flop. So I would call here, but I would not be, again, this is probably aberrant thinking. I'm always trying to come up with a way where, how do I bet my way out of this problem? But I think I would, depending on the bet size on the river, if it's one of those kind of scared blocker bets. I mean, this is where if you're live, you can kind of you can look at the player a little more, but I would call not because just I have a pair, but I think there is possibly on that board chance to steal it if he has 9x or something here.
I don't know if I.
Is that a fishy way of thinking?
I honestly don't know. My instinct would have been 4th diamond and he checks, just check back and hope you win sometimes. But
right. Okay.
But I mean, you might be right that you might win so seldomly there that you're better off bluffing.
Right.
I don't know the answer.
So Stevie, I'm guessing you called.
I did call.
Okay.
Okay, so we now have almost $20 in the pot. We have 1982. And with 8-7 of clubs, the river comes out the 3 of spades. So the final board is 9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, 3 of spades. And so we have a pair of 7s for second pair. And villain checks.
I mean, I think it's always a check back.
Yeah,
but I don't see. Yeah, I mean, typical. You're trying to get. There are probably a couple hands worse that will call.
It's
zero
possible.
that are better that will call. Yeah, so I mean, I guess some people might go for super thin value there, but I don't.
It feels too. I was trying to find a bet because I don't want to be too nitty with a check back, but I guess. So if you bet, you're really trying to get called by ace high.
I was thinking a pair of 4s, pocket 6s, pocket 5s.
How often do you think he has a pair of 4s though?
I get the only thing I can come up with is the ace of diamonds 4. So there's 3 combos of that.
Well, but you did open 4x.
True.
I think even ace 4 offsuit can consider folding pre-flop.
Yeah, there's almost no worse 7s.
I mean,
6-7, 5-7. Everything else beats us.
Well, it's how many 7s exist in the first place, though. Really, like ace 7, 8-7, 6-7.
Oh, 8-7, 6-7, 5-7 suited. That might be a stretch, huh?
Well, could be. You know,
Can we think of a hand that beats us that he would fold?
He's never folding a 9, right?
He's not folding 2 black 10s here or something.
Well, I guess it depends. Like if you want to shove, if you want to overbet shove, maybe he'll fold a 9. Right. But
build up that fear equity even after you get snapped off, Steve. I think we're both on team check back, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I went for thin value into $20. I bet like 25% pot. I bet 550.
Okay.
Yeah, now that we run through this though, I think you're right. There's just like almost no 4s in his range. 5-4 suited maybe. And you're probably right. Ace 4. Well, there's 3 combos of ace 4 suited that he could have, but that's kind of thin.
You've heard me say this, Steve, a lot on the podcast, I think, which is my own probably fishy way of making stupid river bets. But I always say there's merit in just not having your opponent get to see your hand. Like we agree, he's got nothing, just missed a diamond draw so often here. So we're not really trying to get him off anything, but we're throwing out a little bet here, and he doesn't get to see our hand.
Okay.
I don't know if that's fishy thinking, but I
like it totally is, but I do it too.
Right. Okay.
Especially
I don't like people seeing my hand.
Yeah. But you know what? I also don't like seeing other people's hands. So.
Oh, okay.
just win it and never know.
Just move on.
Yep. Right on. Well, I throw out 550. Villain takes a little bit and calls, and he has pocket 10s, no diamond.
Okay.
So that surprised me. I thought for sure that'd be a 3-bet. I wasn't even putting that in his range.
Well, and I think, again, maybe I'm talking too much about this, but I think that your 4x sizing is going to get people to kind of strengthen and condense the range.
Yeah. Okay.
So, the 3-bets will probably be even more polarized.
Yeah.
And a hand like 10s, which is probably usually 3-betting, decides not to.
Yeah, if I make it 250 or $3 there, he's 3-betting me, and then I can fold the 8 high before we even see a flop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, here's where you can take a little note on the player, Steve.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
This is, in the future here, especially if, if he's someone who doesn't bet for thin value in pot control mode. Or actually, I don't dislike how that guy played it though.
I don't either, because if you had like ace of diamonds, queen, right? You're probably not going to call the river, but you might bet it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess this would be GTO. This is, I feel like a lot of times I'm like, well, I have to 3-bet here. In a tournament, Mike, against a guy who's opening a high amount of buttons, is this a 100% 3-bet, or are you flatting sometimes too? From the button open
at this stack depth,
I guess it's kind of too much of an abstract question.
No. I mean, at this stack depth, I don't mind flatting.
Okay.
I would definitely lean towards 3-bet, but there could be. I feel like in a live tournament, I might find more reasons to deviate from the normal 3-bet.
You can see them, you can talk to them, you can watch them, see how they react.
Yeah, because like for 50 big blinds, like it's not great if they just shove on you and you have tens. You're like, well, I guess I call, and then they have ace queen suited and you're flipping.
Yeah.
I think you both played the hand okay, I guess. Well, no, I still like this. Definitely, I'd be c-betting there. Probably my full range. So
okay.
Yeah, and probably losing
that
more.
One, and
but...
then
basically,
you betting
Steve,
the
when
river.
You say, I think the 4x open should tell you that there's no 2 pairs in his range.
Yes.
Like the min click, 2x. People might be calling with 80% of hands there. Then you can't take 3-4 out of their range, kind of shit. But yeah, I think in this spot, there's always, like you said, that you got to strengthen his range a little bit. But
okay.
I don't know. You want to try to bully Mr. Pearson? We're doing one more hand here.
Oh, we could.
Or Mike, do you need to get out of here?
Yeah, whatever. I got time.
Okay. All right. This one we're playing. We're playing 2-4 online. Recently sat down, all unknowns. I don't usually play cash online, so I got notes on tournament players, but cash games not so much. Let's see. Small blind $2, big blind $4. Comes to the first player. He raises to 12. Next player calls. First player on UTG 1 has got 100 and what would that be? 156. He raises to 12. Next player with a stack of $1,000 calls 12. And we're in the hijack with pocket queens.
Okay. What's our stack?
Our stack is 300.
Okay.
So what sizing do you like here? I mean, you're never calling, right? You're always 3-betting.
Yes, I think so. So Under the Gun has 40 big blinds. So if you get it in and he just has aces or kings, I think you just have to live with it. So I'm trying to think of a shot. I like to make 3-bets to sizes where your opponent doesn't know if you're going to call or not when they jam. And I'm trying to think of what that size might be in this case.
12 big blinds, maybe, or is that a little too big?
Huh?
I was thinking like 12 bigs. Steve said he had.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The problem.
Steve has 60. They're like 60 bigs effective. I don't know if you want to make it to like Steve had $250. So.
No, I got 250 behind now.
But
I had 300 to start.
UTG has less. UTG has like 40 bigs.
Okay.
Which is why I was leaning more towards like 10 bigs.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So $40.
Less than a third of his stack for sure is what we're aiming for here. If we want to get him to shove his full range, which we are ahead of for sure.
Yeah. Like a quarter seems like a reasonable percentage of his stack. I was just kind of going back and forth, and this is way more thinking than I would actually do in game. But like, I'm trying to decide whether I want to basically play against his stack or play our stack against the flat caller. But I think,
okay, yeah, I like that.
More likely we're targeting UTG here. So
if we were 1K effective with the flatter, would that increase the chances of, or decrease that you're? I mean, I guess you're always 3-betting, doesn't regardless of stack size here, but
yeah.
If you were deeper, you're more looking at the you don't really care what the original raiser does. It's your
yeah, that would be more of the focus. I might go a little bigger just to not make it too easy for him to call. But I mean, I kind of want to call. And if he does do some kind of back raise, like being deeper, you'd have more room to get away from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Steve, what was your sizing here?
I went $51. So
it sounds like you hit the pot button.
No, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got 300 behind. That'd be 50, I think. Yeah. 54.
So it was 12 and 12 in front of
12 and 12, and then I made it 51.
Okay.
Sounds. I think I like that.
Okay.
All right. Then we have another unknown. Now, I sat down, and the first caller of $12 had just sat down, because doing the math on these stacks, I sat down with exactly 300, and he sat down with exactly $1,000. This must be the first hand that we're playing. Then an unknown shoves for 1,051. Now remember, the second caller also had $1,000.
Yeah. Wow.
So blinds fold. The original opener folds. First caller folds, and now it's back on us. Are we ever good here?
I mean, it sounds ridiculously strong, but it's also like, why would you actually do that with aces, right?
Is the guy wearing a shirt and tie, or is he some anarchist from the desert who really doesn't care about money in these dark times? That's what I would try to figure out. I don't like folding queens here. I guess, isn't that ace king? I don't know if you kind of ignore timing tells whether live or really, but I don't know if that could be a factor. Like if he's just insta jamming it in there, he's got ace king or jacks, but if he's taking some time, he's like, oh, what should I do with aces here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's way.
I don't remember the time.
I
don't remember how long.
I'm not folding kings. Let's make that much clear.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I don't know if I am folding jacks. So this is like the only hand.
Me too.
Where there's a discussion for, I think.
Yep, exactly.
It's pretty weird because that stack is only the effective size against the UTG1 flat, which like people do flat aces and kings there. But it's like, if he has aces, I mean, I guess he could do that play. I guess he could be like, well, I'll either get called or I won't, right?
Yeah, make him and deliberately do the like insta shove.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, he's got ace king. Like try to turn it into like, level you with.
If you have kings in that spot and you're jamming, like, aren't you a little worried that like UTG1 is going to call you with aces and fold literally everything else?
Right.
Right.
If you have ace king, then it kind of makes more sense in like, okay, I'm a little less worried about running into aces and kings, and I could just get folds from pairs, right?
Yeah.
Again, talking about stat, I think if I had like 400, I fold, but like 250, I mean, I guess it's still, it's not nothing.
You said 300, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, 300. Yeah, but he already has 51 on the pot.
75 bigs, yeah, and you did put 51 in.
I
mean, we could actually do the math on like what equity you need to.
Yeah, what range we think he has. I mean, I don't know. Does he ever have?
So it's 250 to call, and there's let's see, 130. Yeah. thought I could do this in my head. 132
we got
dead in the pot, and it's 250.
81 plus 81 plus 51, 132. Is that what you said?
132. Yeah.
Okay, I got the same number.
Okay. 250 to call with 132 in the pot, so it's like
250 divided by 632, whatever equity that is.
Oh, I don't know where you're getting. Oh, okay, yeah. Which I don't think I can do in my head, but it's like
40. It's probably like 40% equity.
Right. So 40% is
if he has jacks and ace kings in his range, it's an easy call.
Well, if he has jacks, it's an easy call. 40%, I'm pretty sure is what you have if the range is specifically aces, kings, ace, king.
Yeah. So if you put, I mean, if he has even
Correct me
like,
if I'm wrong. It's about 40 though, right?
Okay, well, let's see. We got 250 behind in my stack, so that's 500, 632. And then 250 divided by 632, right? 632. 39.5%. Pretty fucking good, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your moments, my friend.
Well, but I was actually okay.
Talking about like what's the equity that your hand specifically had. Talking about not the pot odds, but he's talking about the hand equity. If he's kings plus.
I don't know if I don't even have a calculator for that handy. The one on my phone, I think, like wants me to update my software, and
Well, if you guys have 12 seconds to decide, like I did, what do you think you're doing here?
I mean, Mike's already said
that
he's saying, "Fuck it, I call."
Yeah. And you, what do you think?
I was going to pull up my poker tracker on my laptop here, but it apparently needs a new license. Yeah, I'm going to call. Here's the other thing I always think. If this guy just has one hand, like just a couple combinations that are, because I would know, like looking at it right away, that it's probably just like a break-even call.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my first instinct. But then I'm like, maybe this guy is the one guy who's wigging out with 10-9 suited just because he's a lunatic, because he's online and you just said you just sat down.
Yeah.
Right. There is the spaz factor.
So if you just throw in, all you got to do is throw in, especially if you just sat at the table, you don't know what this guy's been doing. I mean, maybe you do. But yeah, I mean, there's just too many times in tournaments where it's like, oh, this guy's range is just so strong here. It's got where you just see someone show up with something crazy. I'm like,
I did play a tournament yesterday where someone just 3-bet jammed 6-deuce offsuit on me. So, that's always a classic. So your equity with queens against specifically aces, kings, ace, king is 39.82%, and you said that you need to have what? 39.5. So you have it anyway. And with a little bit of spaz factor, I guess you just call.
Okay. Yeah, like Harrington said, even the old grandma that just plays the nuts always put a 10% factor as a bluff in there. Okay. All right. I clicked fold, and we don't know what the shover had, but the opener to 12 showed ace king, and then the first caller had jack 10 suited. But we have no idea what the guy had that shoved. So seeing the ace king that the first guy folded makes it less likely that the other guy had aces kings or ace king, because
this software, everybody can show their hand after the hand's over.
Okay.
Even though you're, which is kind of cool.
I hate it.
I don't know. I don't like that fold.
I mean, I don't think it's the worst. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have a little. If I was on a really, really soft table in a tournament or something, with a couple of weak players on your right who you feel like you're going to get their chips anyway, that would be a determining factor, which would make this a fold for sure.
Yeah.
But
okay. All right. Cool.
Okay, Steve, you're 0 for 1, and here 50%. Okay, not bad, Steve. Ronnie, you got a D+ here. You're doing well.
Yeah, I just moved up from failing to barely passing.
Well, Mikey, it was fun.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for being so candid and honest. It's good to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah.
Get on. I don't know. Do you want to try to build up a little? So
Steve,
the people know your Twitter address, just in case you start doing a lot of twitching with the chest? Try maybe build up a little a little crowd who likes to watch it.
Well, just a second, Steve. I just wanted to say the fact that you saw an ace king fold, even if the range of the shover is specifically aces kings ace king, your equity just went up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Mike, your question. I don't know. I should make a new one. Definitely don't follow the Twitter account I have.
Okay.
Help me make a new one. I agonize over like creating screen names, which I can't tell you how many times that like I've started to like try to use some online service and it requires you to make a screen name, and that just means I don't do it. Or I sit there for a half an hour trying to come up with one, and then use one that I like already used on other websites and hate. So,
are you just trying to come up with the perfect one that encapsulates what you're?
yeah, it's so weird. Like I don't know why I care, but ever since like making my first account on Internet Chess Club when I was like 9 years old or something, like.
Did you don't regret Tahoe Wizard, do you? There's nothing wrong with that name. You are a Tahoe Wizard here.
It's pretty cheesy. Blame Alex.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Alex did that because that's actually my new strategy. Is when I need a screen name, just text people like, "Hey, I need someone to make a screen name for me." And
can I ask you what Alex is doing? Strange. He does not. He's ghosted me, which I get it. I know everyone. Eventually.
Why?
So I'm very curious.
I don't
know because I've called him several times and texted him. He doesn't respond.
Oh, so. Weird.
Did he move back to San Francisco? He was teaching out here.
Well, in the Bay. He seems to be doing pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the Bay, staying with family, keeping himself busy. I think good things on the horizon for him. So
okay.
I don't really want to get into his details.
Right, but that's a good cryptic response. He probably said, "Don't talk about me on the podcast."
Well, I don't know what parts you're editing out. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Is he a friend of the podcast? Oh, he's been on the podcast, huh?
Oh, he's been on the podcast.
Okay. So
he's out of the loop.
He's
there.
Known
he
to
was
be.
he was a FOB, a friend of Barton, or friend of Rampage, FOR. Never was.
FOR, yeah.
He's off the reservation here.
Yeah.
A little bit, so
he's in the circle of trust.
Okay.
Yeah. Right on. Well, cool. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for coming on. And
hopefully, if we, somehow, if this crisis deepens, we'll get Mike on, and he can not hold back anymore at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. When's it air?
Oh, it'll come out Monday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Okay, dude. Hopefully, we'll see you World Series of Poker in mid-November. Would that be interesting? That would be kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, well, actually, so I get an invitation to the Global Casino Championship in August, but is that even happening?
Oh yeah, that's got to be happening by then, doesn't it?
And if not, I feel like they should give me $10,000, but I don't think they will.
Right. Yeah,
I think they should give me $10,000, and this is the first time I've heard of it.
No, this is you must know that this is a bracelet event, and the competitors are all the people who are the casino champions from each individual circuit stop. So
cool.
He gets a seat into that bracelet event, which is a 10K event. So he's that's 10K. That's 10K of equity. He's earned or owed, whatever.
Oh, nice, dude. Well done. That's cool.
Right, but I'm worried that it might not actually happen, and then like.
Then you'll get stiff 10K.
Do I just get stiff? Yeah, like I don't know that they're like obligated to give it to me, right?
Yeah.
Technically,
but they were going to give it to me.
Mm-hmm. They should probably pay your way into the main event next year, but I don't know.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Be a good
I'd take it.
Yeah.
We didn't even mention. We haven't talked to Mike in so long. We didn't even get it. He had a deep run in the main event last year, Steve. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh yeah, what'd you get? Like 120 or something, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right on. Congratulations.
I consider that a deep run.
No, it is. I just hesitated.
The Tahoe Wizard it's a shrug.
I hesitated because your listeners could use that to identify me. No, they can't already.
Well, your name is going to be in the title,
right?
Unless you want us to just put Mike.
No, I just hesitate with. Yeah,
Mike, you're going to be going underground with the black mask soon. Nobody's going to find you.
You're going to be the one guy that's still alive after the.
Well, if I am doing that, I don't want too many.
Right.
People
public appearances.
Well, this is your fuck up, not mine, sir. You're out there. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay,
cool.
dude.
All right.
You guys stay safe.
All right.
Mike, thank you for coming on the show.
You already
Mikey,
said that.
Thanks for joining me. And thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
I invested too much. I invested too much to quit. I made too many sacrifices to give up. If dreams were easy, everybody would make them happen. The problem is that most people, I watch most people, they can't get up in the morning. They ain't got no energy. I'm walking through the airport running almost. Most people that I'm with, they don't got the energy to keep up with me. I'm like, boo, ain't nothing wrong with you. You just ain't got the stamina. You just ain't got the energy. You can't smart everything. You can't outthink everything. You can't, some stuff is just, you gotta be powerful. It's just some stuff that you gotta have stamina for. You just too slow. It just take you too long. You wake up, take you 3 weeks to do what it can take 24 hours to do. It don't make you a bad person, but you're gonna forever be average, because to be great, you got to keep up. Some of you have sold your greatness and your destiny for a couple dollars. You can't get to the next level because every time somebody draws something in front of your face, you give up. Take all your energy for the dream, because you're gonna need it. And so if the second thing I can teach you is, for every dream you have, take at least a week or 30 days and write down every single thing that it's going to take to make it happen. And I want you to know something. After you write everything down, you still have not written everything down, because you don't know what's going to happen. And so life normally breaks you, because when it hits you, you wasn't ready. But if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. If you stay ready and you stay plugged up, when you hear bad news, it don't break you, because you already energized. You have to eat the dream. You have to sleep the dream. You have to dream the dream. You got to touch. You have to see it when nobody else sees it. You have to feel it when it's not tangible. You have to believe it when you cannot see it. You got to be possessed with the dream. You're not going to be the best. You're not going to catch the best if you're not intentional and deliberate. And there are those of you in your space, and whatever you're trying to do, you don't even represent the best in your space, and you're still not giving 120. You're trying to catch the guy, you're trying to catch the female, that's the best, and you're waking up and giving me 70%, you're giving me 80%, but yet you have these dreams that you're gonna be the best. How? Stop telling me what you're going through. The greats go through, they get to it, they go through it. And the harder it is, the better. No alarm clock needed. My passion wakes me up. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning. No clock. I ain't used the clock in 20 years. My passion wakes me up. My drive wakes me up. My determination wakes me up. My ability to be, do, and have whatever I want, it wakes me up. What wakes you up? What drives you? Why are you playing this game? That dream that you have, that money that you want, if you're going to make it happen, you're going to have to be wired different. We're going to put in work. Because every time you put in work, you get the same consequences. You get paid. You get rewarded.